Testing to make sure I put the microphone in all the way. Hello everyone. This time I plugged the mic all the way into the camera, so we are going to have good quality audio. Welcome to my first Q&A ever on YouTube. We do a lot of these on Instagram before I do a release, but I really wanted to do one on YouTube that was a little more thought out and edited. There's no need for any more setup. Let's go right into the questions. First question is from Zach Hecker, and it's a two-part question, and it's, what is your favorite part about being an artist, and what is your least favorite part about being an artist? There's a very specific feeling, and it's very similar to what I would call a runner's high. If you go running a lot, then you know sometimes you get out there and you just feel so good and so alive, and you can go as fast and as far as you ever need to go. And there's a similar thing that happens to me when I'm making songs. And there's always a point in a song that I hit, and this is what tells me whether or not I want to keep going with the release or if I want to just scrap it and move on to something else. And it's a feeling that just makes me stand out of my chair and dance around the room to a song that I've written. And so I do that all the time to other people's songs, but the feeling of doing it to my own song is unparalleled, and there's no better feeling that I have experienced in any art or career field, and that is pretty much what I live for. The worst part about being an artist is it's lonely. Pretty much my entire day is centered around doing either promotion for my music or making music in the first place. I don't have a team right now. I don't have people that I can rely on. I do have collaborations, but they're few and far between. And a lot of people that I talk to in the music industry have a very different view and mindset than I do. And so I feel like I haven't really found anyone who is like my partner in crime. Like, there are artists who always work with each other and they just feed off of each other's energy, and I haven't felt like I've really found that, and part of that is my fault for not looking hard enough and trying hard enough. But I'm still trying to figure out how to make this journey feel less lonely. Brian asks what the style of the track is and how old am I? I am 24 years old, and the style of the track, I don't know what to call it yet, because I feel like this is starting to become my style. You haven't heard many of my other releases that are, well, many of my other songs that are unreleased, but I'm starting to make more like Interrupted, and I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, and I'm sure someone else is going to figure out a much better name than I would, so I'll leave that up to you all. The question here is, what is Interrupted inspired by? Interrupted is about the illusion that a destination can bring you happiness. How long did the song take? It took 16 hours on my main project, but when I initially wrote the song, that took around 4 or 5 hours, and I forgot to add that in my Instagram Q&A. So 4 or 5 hours from the original song that I wrote 2 years ago. And then I had the master, which was about an hour, and the vocal project, which was about an hour. So it came out to be around 22 to 23 hours working on this one song. A fellow artist asks, how do I stand out from the crowd when I'm marketing my music? And it comes down to 3 main things. There's the sound of my music, there's the visuals that I have along with my music, and there's my interaction with the people that listen to my music. First one, the sound of my music. I used to think that sound or style was something that you thought about and then you did. But what I found after making tons of unfinished songs and having 11 single releases is that the sound that I have is just the thousands of decisions that I make every time I produce a song. And over time, a sound develops, and it's not really something that I've thought about. And as time goes on, I'm going to continue developing that style. And so making lots of music helps me stand out because it further helps me develop my own unique style. The visuals are also super important. I always make sure that the album covers are not stock photos. Tons of people use stock photos, and I get submissions on Submit Hub all of the time with these stock photos, and they look pretty terrible most of the time. So do your own original artwork. Either take good photos or commission someone to do it. Help another artist out. Pay them a good, decent sum of money to make you an awesome piece of artwork. I've found an artist that does amazing work, and she's super cool. And shout out to Cassidy for making the best artwork I could ever have on my music. If anyone else needs good artwork, I'll put her link in the description of this video. And now the last thing is interacting with my fan base. EDM artists do a terrible job of interacting with their fan base. And I'm talking about the smaller to mid-tier EDM artists who don't reply to comments on Instagram, they don't reply to DMs, they barely ever even post on social media, they never tell their story, and they have all this great music, but when you look further past the music, there's nothing else. I'll take one group for example, Unknown Brain. They're an NCS group, and they have incredible music. The production is insanely good. And I went and read their Spotify bio, and it was dope. And then I went to go learn more about them, and there's nothing. There's no interviews, there's nothing on social media, there's nothing about their story, and so I'm looking for more. Like, I want to buy a shirt from these people, and there's nothing there, and I'm just not brought into it. The question is, what LUFS do I master to? I generally shoot to get my loudness at -8 LUFS integrated, but I'll settle for -10. I don't want to crunch my sound too much, and if you notice, I have a bit more dynamic range than a lot of other EDM artists have, and that's just my personal stylistic choice. But when I submit to streaming services, I lower the ceiling -2 dB, and so my final product comes out to be around -12 to -10, but it's still fitting into all of the space that I've given it. But doing that for streaming services allows it to stay loud without distorting. And so I actually have a couple of different masters, one for YouTube and SoundCloud and one for streaming services, and then I bounce an MP3 for random sites like SubmitHub. When will I collab with Taylor Swift? If I die before I don't, if I die and don't collab with Taylor Swift, you can consider my career an absolute failure. There's some yelling outside. I'm hoping that by the time I'm like 50 or so years old, I'll have done a collaboration with Taylor Swift. The question is, what got me in the flow for music? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but I'm going to take that as what got me started in music or what got me interested in making it. And the most honest answer is I was just born with a desire to make music. For the longest time, I wasn't confident in making the music, and so I didn't do it. But once I got the confidence in line, I was able to use what was inside of me to create everything that I've created so far. Parth asks, what was the most challenging part about creating Interrupted? I hated vocal chops. I loved them in other people's music, but I was so bad at making vocal chops, and I tried on so many occasions and they sounded like absolute trash. And on this song, I thought, gosh, if I could just figure out the vocal chop thing, I think I could make this song have a really cool chorus. And I just sat down and tried again. I didn't do anything differently. I just tried to go through the process of making the vocal chops in FL Studio, and it just happened. It's like it just clicked. I knew which chop to choose and what to pitch the chop to, and within 5 minutes I created the main hook for this song. And since then I've just been making so many more songs with vocal chops in them. Jane asks, what is my favorite song that I have produced so far? It's a really tough question to answer. And when I answered this on Instagram, I said Interrupted because it was my most recent song. But the most fun playing on the piano is Orno. And I think that's the most well-structured and written song, in part thanks to Anna, who did the actual songwriting and lyric writing. And I would say that's my favorite that I've released. Although my favorite that I've produced, I haven't even finished yet. And it's called The Hopeful Effect. And I actually wrote it like 4 years ago, and just this year had turned it into kind of this EDM version, and I'm super excited to release it. I will have similar elements as Interrupted, but the verses are just mwah. How did I get into dance music? As many of you know, I'm a huge Alan Walker fan. The second I heard Faded, I was absolutely hooked. I loved the huge melodies and the full sound that EDM had. And I loved, at that time, making orchestra music. I didn't really produce it that much, but I played around with it on FL Studio, and I made a song called Story. And I wanted to be able to make music with huge melodies and full sounds, and electronic music, specifically EDM, is the perfect platform for focusing on melodies and fullness in tracks. And so I just thought, well, gosh, it seems like it's perfect for me, considering I want to be an artist. I can't sing, and being an EDM producer, you kind of are your own artist, which is this new thing in the 2000s that we never really had before. And I thought it was perfect for me. Logan asks, what came first, the lyrics or the instrumental? For this particular song, I wrote the lyrics, at least the first draft, 2 years ago, and then I put the instrumental to it. And then this year, I took that instrumental, completely changed it from the original, and made it into what it is now. And so the lyrics are what inspired the rest of the instrumental to be built around this one. That is it for this Q&A. I'm looking forward to doing this again. I think next time I'm going to do this as a catwalk and EDM talk, but it's so dang cold outside, and Nani doesn't really like the cold that much, so I'm going to spare her and myself and do these inside until it's warm enough to go back outside. Don't forget to check out the Interrupted candle, which is right here. I just made a huge new batch because all of my candles were just sold out, so get one before they go away. It smells like frosted juniper, and it has a Spotify QR code to get to my music on the back. You guys are awesome. Bye.